Okay, does it look weird if I'm looking up like this?
No, not really. I mean,
Okay.
it
All right.
looks like this.
Oh, that does look weird then.
So back.
I
Welcome,
like it.
welcome,
I like it.
welcome. We are so back this week with another podcast. This is our, I want to say, eighth, maybe ninth edition, meaning we are over the 2 month mark. So we reached that. Pretty cool. Um,
Definitely not counting.
no, haven't been counting. I just do this because I really enjoy it and I like talking to my friend, if that's okay with you guys. Jeez. But we're back. We got another good week of football to talk about, another good week ahead. Actually, to be honest with you, this week's kind of a bummer in college football as far as how the recent weeks have been going. But we do have one very important game that I'm sure we'll be talking about a bunch. So we can just jump right into the previous week. We've got Georgia, we've got Auburn, the 130th Deep South's oldest rivalry. Georgia comes out on top 20 to 10 with some questionable things that are being talked about on social media right now. Austin, how you feeling? How you feeling?
I'm glad that it happened to us.
Right.
That's it's really what I can say. I've watched the video of Kirby saying that he's clapping over and over again. Um, and I just cannot see a world where he's not calling timeout. He just he just is. You know what I mean? But I'm glad it happened to our team.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, if that was Auburn, I would have been fuming. But the other kind of controversial thing we've got going is that fumble right before halftime, which, despite what I do feel that Auburn fans will tell you, this was actually really close. And had it been called a touchdown, it probably wouldn't have gotten overturned. But because it was called a fumble, I think that it had to be overturned. In fact, I'm a little bit confused because I feel like if you're going to call it a fumble, he wasn't down. That's 7 points. That's touchdown. I mean, that's what I think is kind of weird about it.
I was gonna ask the same thing. Because if that was a fumble, we ran it back for a touchdown. That's 7 points right there. That's 10-7. We won, so it's not really that big a deal. But that would have been a huge scoop and score, and changed the momentum of the game more than just the normal fumble that it was. But I do agree that had it been called a touchdown, it probably would have stayed a touchdown. There just wasn't any enough evidence to overturn it either way. And that's kind of that's sports. I don't think anybody can say definitively that was a touchdown or that was a regular fumble, just because we don't have like the angles there. And it was so close. You can't quite tell when the ball starts moving, when he starts hitting it. And once you start going through these things frame by frame, it really just kind of like takes the sports part out of it. Then it's just like, did this one micro like this one pixel get across this other pixel? Then it's not. We took we take 30 minutes to review at the end of the game. The last 2 minutes take 30 minutes of that half, and it was just it's tough. It's tough with all this review going on right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I was definitely going to say that it was, but it's such a crucial call that I do like. I'm glad they didn't go in there in like a minute and come out and be like, nope, never mind. Yeah, fumble. Like at least you're taking a little bit of time to look at because this call, 17 nothing at half versus what was it? Was it 10-3 at half? Was that what it was? Or was it
And
still
nothing.
10 nothing? So Georgia doesn't end up scoring there, but 10 nothing is so much better than 17 nothing. I mean, it would have been obviously, as we now can see, Georgia ends up scoring 20 unanswered in the second half. So with that logic, it would have been 20 to 17 and wouldn't have mattered, but still a very important call there. And I mean, other than, I mean, gosh, I was watching the game and the first half was really rough. I mean, Georgia looked really bad. The offense looked like it went back to its Mike Bobo standard of let's just run the ball 2 times and then call a screen and then we'll get 3 yards and then we'll just punt it away, which is always frustrating and annoying to watch. But Gunner in the second half kind of accepted the role that he's going to have to kind of take over this game. And he did with that game sealing rushing touchdown with little under 2 minutes left in the game. Um, Put it to a two-score game and pretty much won the game for Georgia there. It's a big win going into Ole Miss, or you're in Georgia, but going into the Rebels. And I expect that game to be pretty close. And I
Pause.
think, um, what?
I just said pause.
Pause. Um, but the Auburn defense did look good, and I think it is kind of a testament to them that they were able to hold this Georgia offense on the ground as strong as they were because Georgia has a very strong rushing attack and good offensive linemen. So it's good to, I mean, it wasn't good to see for our perspective, but for Auburn fans, it was good to see that offensive or defensive line getting penetration there.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn is always going to be a tricky place to play. It's one of those games in the SEC, and Kirby talked about it, and you could see by how excited he was after the game, that is a tough place to play. That is a place that nobody really wants to go to in the SEC, but to go there, get a win. They don't ask how, they just ask how many. We
It's my
move on to
favorite
Ole
quote.
Miss.
It's my absolute favorite quote that you use. So you move on to Ole Miss, and Georgia moves up in the rankings likely after some other games that we'll talk about here in the week. We can jump to Alabama, Missouri, a much closer game than at least I thought that it was going to be. Alabama holds on, gets a touchdown with very little time left on the clock, but Missouri had the ball, had the opportunity to win this game, and you go down and you throw a pick. I mean, all you had to do is get into field goal range. You head to OT. You're right on the 50-yard line. But you overthrow your guy and you throw a pick, and now the Crimson Tide remain a one-loss team.
Yeah, I think this game illustrates a theme that we kind of had this week, and that was that there are levels to this. Um, and I think all the teams that showed that should have won kind of showed that there are levels to this. And the teams that we thought might be a little bit better than they are showed that they are not quite on that level yet. And I think that's just what it is with Mizzou, because Bama is an experienced team that knows how to win football games like this. It's in the culture. It's they've been doing it for 100 years, and Mizzou is good, and they're playing well, and they've been frisky, but they're not quite Alabama, and they don't quite have that end piece where you could put away these tight games. And at the end of the day, that's what Alabama had. They had the guys that knew how to make the plays.
Yeah, I mean, and this game was in Mizzou, obviously. I think if this game is in Tuscaloosa, it's not quite as close. I think the Crimson Tide maybe pull away with this one a little earlier, which is why Mizzou were able to hold in. But still a big testament to them that they're hanging with this squad that has now beaten the Georgia Bulldogs this year. We've seen them win big games, overcome the obstacles they were presented with early after their loss to Florida State. Um, and I think it's a big testament to Mizzou. And I don't think this team is necessarily out of the playoff yet. They have a lot ahead and a lot of things have to go their way, but that's a quality loss. And it's something that the committee will look at moving towards the playoff and heading forward. Do I expect to see Mizzou in the playoff? Probably not with the schedule they have, but anything can happen in this game, especially with how everything is going in college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of chaos this year, so you never know.
Yeah, quite a crazy week again. As we saw Ohio State versus Illinois, that game went about how most people kind of thought it would go. Illinois, for a moment, looked like they were going to hang around, but Ohio State ends up winning this game pretty handedly, an 18-point victory there. Um, yeah, it remains that Ohio State is the best team, and we are yet to be proven otherwise. And we saw it again against. This is one of Ohio State's ranked games this year, and they get the win. They do their job, and now they'll remain undefeated, and will obviously remain the one seed for the foreseeable future.
Do you think it's boring being an Ohio State fan this year a little bit? Just because like your schedule is so bad, and it really not even your fault. Penn State's supposed to be a good game, and it just isn't this year. And you did win a big game against Texas, who wasn't as strong as maybe we thought they were. So it's by no fault of their own. Um, but their schedule is just so bad that it really doesn't even matter until the Big Ten championship game and then the playoff. Like they just got to kind of handle their business, and I think they've kind of showed us that they're capable of doing that. This year and last year, really. They're capable of just handling teams that they need to handle and getting what they need to get done, and they'll make it to the playoff, and then we'll see if they really are legit. But it's tough at the moment to call them very, very good just because we don't know. Like they just still real they beat Texas, but they still really haven't played, you know, an Alabama or a Tennessee or a Georgia, which there's just not that in their schedule this year.
Yeah, and it is a little bit unfortunate, and I will definitely agree that I really personally, as you know, I went to the University of Georgia, but I'm also a Michigan fan. I really like when the Big Ten plays the SEC. These are these big two conferences, and I think it's really fun to watch the two play because a lot of the time it is the SEC that edges it out. We just have to understand that the SEC is a kind of a different level of football, in my personal opinion. But as of now, I do think Ohio State is the number one team in the nation, and I think that we can't be proven otherwise. But I would have liked to see them play one more SEC team on top of Texas. It doesn't even have to be Georgia or Bama or Ole Miss. I'd like to see Ohio State play Mizzou. That'd be a fun game. I'd like to see Ohio State play even like a Mississippi State, like a team that a bottom feeder in the SEC is a middle of the pack to like a middle of the pack Big Ten team. Like I just feel like it would be fun to give Ohio State just a little bit of something harder. But obviously, as we've said, it's not their fault. They're winning the games they're supposed to win. Penn State was supposed to be a good game. That likely won't. I still think that can be frisky, but likely will be a win for Ohio State. Michigan looked terrible this week. Likely going to be a win for Ohio State. This team will more likely than not be undefeated heading into the Big Ten championship. To as of now, I mean, it would be they would be playing Indiana. Muted.
I did mute myself for a good reason, I promise. Um, but yeah, no, this Ohio State team, um, they they don't have much to prove for the next 3 or 4 games until they get to the end of the Big Ten championship game. But once they get past there, they really do have something to prove. And you know, we'll see if they're up to it. But I'm I can't say that I've been given enough evidence to be convinced.
Yeah, I don't think there's any runaway teams this year, which actually I personally think is kind of fun. I like when football is like this, and I asked for this. We asked for the chaos, and we received. Speaking of chaos, we got Texas beating Oklahoma this week, 23-6, an insane game there. Not really sure what happened here in this game. You get your boy back, you get Mateer back, but I mean, the Longhorns defense looked like they just completely overpowered this Oklahoma offense. And the Oklahoma defense, which we believed was top three in the nation, top five in the nation, gives up 23 to Texas. And I mean, that's more than enough to win the Red River rivalry for the
Tough
Texas
one. I've
Longhorns.
been trying to say it all week. It's been a real tough one.
It's a tough one. It's a fun name, but we have to do so much alliteration, guys?
I think we just got to do edge. We just got to go back to the Red River Shootout. That's just what it is.
Right. Or like can we just call it like the triple R maybe or something?
Right.
Yeah, the RR. But Texas
Anyways,
gets the win there.
yeah, I mean, you have Mateer with 3 picks. Oklahoma was 35% on third down. They went 6 for 17. Anytime you have a day like that, it's probably not going to go well. Especially against a team that is capable. I'm not going to say good. because I still don't think Texas is good. Or they're they're good. They're not in the top echelon of playoff teams and that type of team. But yeah, when you throw three picks and can't convert on third or fourth down, um, you're gonna have some problems. And Oklahoma ran into a lot of problems in a very big spot for them. So we'll see how it goes with them.
Well, now the road gets tougher for Oklahoma, a team that I thought was going to be definitely a playoff team now gets more difficult. Now, to be fair, we didn't expect Mateer to play this game, and I thought this might have been a loss for Oklahoma anyways. He does play, and it's a loss, which actually kind of hurts them a little bit more now. But he does play, and they lose. So now the road gets a little bit more difficult here for Oklahoma with the weeks ahead. Every game now matters. A two-loss team can get into this college football playoff, but you would love to be a one-loss team there and find your way maybe to claw back into the SEC championship. But that's a tough loss, and I'm now gonna need to be proved again that Oklahoma is a good football team because I did not see that on Saturday last week.
So that was really going to be my question because I think if John Mateer comes back next week, plays very, very well, gets back to kind of what their standard of him is, do you think the committee gives him a little bit of credit for coming back early, as opposed to he would have had a backup quarterback that also probably would have lost?
I do think that grace would be given there. And I honestly think, I mean, I'm not, part of AP, so I can't make these calls. Personally, I think that this game was going to be tough for Oklahoma to win. You know, you're playing one of the better defenses in the nation. Despite Texas's offensive struggles this year, their defense has been very solid, and we knew that their defense was going to be good. Did I think Oklahoma would put up more than 6 points? Yeah, I did. But I do think that some grace will be given. And if it were up to me, I would say that Oklahoma will bounce back this week angry. But I thought that about Penn State. So, I don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean Penn State, just the fall from grace, the what a brutal 3 weeks to be a Penn State football fan. You went from going thinking that you might win the national championship to losing three straight and firing your head coach of 10 years. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what Penn State's going to do. Um, I think they're probably going to try to go after Kurt Cignetti, and it's just whether or not Kurt Cignetti thinks that he has a home in Indiana, which I don't feel like he really does. Um, I think he still is looking for a bigger job. But that's something that we'll have to see in the offseason.
Oh, I think that just speaking of Signetti, I think that there's going to be a couple teams that are going to be looking to grab this guy. This is going to be one of the first guys off the board here. This is going to be the first guy Florida calls, the first guy Penn State calls. This is going to be the guy that you want, and I am interested to see if he does think about parting ways with the Hoosiers. I think it depends on how this year goes too. Speaking of Indiana, big win this week for them as well. Get a big win against Oregon, 30-20. Surprised? I sure am. I did not think that's how that game would go.
Um, I I am surprised. I can't say that I thought they were really gonna win it, but I did think this was gonna be a lot better game than I think people were probably giving it credit for. Um, this is a really good Indiana team, and Kurt Cignetti has showed us that he is a very, very good coach. Um, and I think he's taking advantage of a little bit of inexperience from Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning has not been a head coach for very long. Chris Ignetti has also not been the Indiana coach for very long. Um, but I really like this Indiana team, and I think that they were set up perfectly to beat beat Oregon.
Yeah, it causes we asked for it and we received. Now have the chaos that we asked for.
Chaos.
This school that now, I mean, they pummeled Illinois, so we knew that they were at least a, decent, good slash football team. But then you get a close one against Iowa, who, we don't really think is that good. Then you come back and you beat Oregon. Statement game. And I mean, Fernando Mendoza did his job. Wasn't perfect. He did have the interception, but did his job. 20 for 31, got the touchdown, over 200 yards through the air against a solid Oregon defense. I mean, you did your job. You came in, you did your job, and it now leaves Oregon kind of scratching their head a little bit.
Yeah, the one thing that I don't quite understand is how how do we view how do we view Oregon's win over Penn State at that time? Do we
And
view it
see,
as they crumbled Penn State to the ground? Like that loss was so big and so meaningful because that was Penn State. That was what Penn State has been building towards, kind of breaking through and getting that big signature win. And I think this was kind of the time that everybody realized in that locker room, you know what, we're not gonna get it done. That just isn't we went up against the big one, we couldn't do it. We haven't been able to do it for many years. And that was just the realization and it all came crumbling down. Or was Penn State never really that good the whole time? I don't necessarily think that everybody in college football was wrong about this team all year. I just find that really hard to believe. So, I think it's up for debate.
I agree. And that is the question that I feel that every football team starts to think about is you start to now connect the dots of like, well, wait, they barely beat these guys and now they're losing to someone who's actually half good. Are they even good or were they ranked three way too early and we were putting them there because we like Dan Lanning and we thought that Oregon was better than they are?
Yeah, I mean, it does beg that question. To me, a loss to an Alabama team that has bounced back after losing a big game is probably a better win than a team that crumbled as soon as they lost and went on to lose three straight.
Right.
Um, so I don't quite understand how Georgia is ranked behind Oregon in the AP, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not final. That's just AP. That doesn't even matter for the CFP. CFP kind of do their own thing, and we'll see how they feel about it here in the weeks coming up. The final game I kind of wanted to talk about from the previous weekend was one that wasn't on my list of games to watch early in the week, but we've got Ole Miss versus Washington State, which ends up being a field goal game, extremely close. The Rebels' offense was good, but I mean, giving up 21 to Washington State, that
Defense
ain't
was
good.
bad. Couldn't force a turnover. They had 345 total yards, which Washington State has. They're 3-3. They have no business with 345 total yards. Um, Especially, I assume it was at Ole Miss.
This
I
game
didn't
was at Ole
check, but
Miss.
I would assume
It
they're
was.
not going to Washington State. So, a 3-3 Washington State takes them to the brink. It's a tough one before you got a big game in Sanford this weekend.
Yeah, and you can always think about this team was looking ahead to the Bulldogs, but this is just not what good teams do. Good teams do not look ahead to bigger games. You just can't do that in this league. You can't do that because now, if you lose to Washington State there, I mean, you're screwed. You're not coming back. I mean, then
Mm.
now you have to go beat Georgia. And like they survive and they're still ranked five. They dropped one spot, but now you can kind of afford that loss. But if you lost that game to Washington State, and then you got to play with like your life is on the line against Georgia. They still probably would. I mean, this is still a big, very big game for them, and they really want to win it. But I mean, it gives me a little bit of hope for this Georgia offense that has been a little stagnant in first halves to see that Washington State was able to put up over 300 yards. What can Gunner do?
What can our run game do to run all over them? I think I think Georgia has the chance to go into the SEC championship with one loss. And I think that if they do, they will be ranked very, very highly.
Yeah.
It'll kind of force everybody to give the respect that I think Georgia probably deserves. Because right now, I think 9 is a little bit, it's a little low.
Yeah, the ranking is low of Georgia, but despite what AP is saying about this Georgia team, we look at the spreads in this week coming up, and Georgia is favored over Ole Miss by 7.5 points, despite being ranked 4 spots below them. And so this kind of shows that in my opinion, obviously Vegas doesn't know everything, but these spreads are typically pretty good. They're typically pretty spot on. So the fact that this is not 1.5, 2.5 favoring Georgia, the fact that it's seven
Right,
and
this
a
is over a
half,
touchdown.
people believe Georgia's going to show up here.
And I see no reason why they don't. Um, this seems to me like a UGA team that is has found ways to win, which I think is a very, very good quality. Some would say that they've put themselves in some bad situations where they needed to get themselves out, and that would also be true. But I think the optimistic way of looking at this is once we get to the end here, and if we can make it through this gauntlet of a schedule that we kind of have this year, um, I think getting to the playoff, having had those battles, will really benefit us in this 12 team playoff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, my dad always told me that sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And as of now, that has worked for the Bulldogs. Now, this is not the 2021 Georgia Bulldogs we saw that are just mopping the floor with every single team that they play, but they're still an unbelievable team. And I think that ranking them 9, it's a little bit disrespectful. I mean, while the Auburn game was close, I mean, it's in Auburn. We've seen that Auburn's been solid this year. They've took it to the brink with a couple of teams this year. I just think that they should be ranked a little bit higher than that, and I think that Vegas recognizes that and recognizes what's going on here, and they're favoring by over a touchdown here. So, I will Georgia cover this? I'm not 100% certain of that, but I think the first half is what we have to look at here. If Georgia is going into halftime tied or with the lead, I think they cover this. Absolutely.
I don't think that's a bad take. We are a second half team, which
Now, let me
I
tell you
don't
though, it's
I don't know
much
what that
better.
means.
It's
I do
much
know what it means,
better to
obviously.
be a second half team than a first half team because my team is a first half team, and it hurts when that
I
happens.
I would like to be a full game team.
True.
That's what
Absolutely.
kind of team I want to be.
Right.
But we'll figure it out. And if we don't, it's going to be a short-lived stint in the playoff.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is a big game, and if Georgia can come in and get it done in Sanford this week, I think that things are looking very good for the Bulldogs moving forward. You've, played some big games, survived them, all but one. Couldn't take down the Crimson Tide at home, but you take down Ole Miss, ranked 5, it's going to help your odds a lot. Looking into other games around the league this week, we have Tech versus Duke. Duke favored. This is pretty much the test for Tech here. You win this one, you'll probably be at least a one-loss team and be in the ACC championship. Now, that Georgia game, some will tell you it's 50-50. I do think that Georgia is better than Tech, but a one-loss team likely gets you into the ACC championship. So this one, in my opinion, is the big one for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I mean, they really just got to go in and handle business like a good team should. Um, and they got to win games like this. If they go into Georgia without a conference loss, then they'll definitely be in the ACC championship, and that'll likely put them in the playoff automatically. So I think they're in a really, really good position and a better position than they've been in a number of years. But I will say, if they go into Georgia and get smacked around a little bit, it doesn't matter how you do in the ACC championship game. Another SEC team is getting in there. So I think a lot of the two-loss SEC teams will be looking very, very closely at that game because I think it has a lot more implications than maybe it might seem.
For sure. This is, like I said, this week, unfortunately, we've been graced and blessed with very good college football matchups in the past three-ish weeks. This week is a bit of a weak schedule. That is probably one of the three really good games on this slate, and that's an important one that has implications outside of the ACC. Big for ACC fans, but this is also very important if you're on the bubble in the Big Ten, on the bubble in the SEC, and you need one spot to open up. A loss there opens things up for other teams, like you say, in those conferences. One of those teams, I think, right now is the Tennessee Volunteers, who are now playing Bama this week. You get a win there, and Tech loses. That's power shift.
It really is. I mean, you already have Tennessee in the eyes of the AP ranked higher than Georgia Tech as a 6-0 team. You go in and you beat 5-1 Bama that's been rolling, that's been playing really, really well. If you can go out there and prove that you're good, one, that really helps us because that makes it a triangle of kind of suck because we we beat Tennessee, Tennessee beats Alabama, Alabama beats us. It all kind of comes out in the wash there. Um, so that's what I'm cheering for personally. Um, even though I really don't like to cheer for Tennessee, but I happen to be doing it this in this particular week. Uh, but I think that'll be a really, really good game. Um, we'll get to see if Tennessee can do it again, upset Bama yet again. Seems like they got a knack for it.
Yeah, it's an important one. It's huge. It's in Tuscaloosa. Bama's favored by 7.5. I would say Tennessee covers that. Do they win outright? Now, this is where it gets tough. This is, can you slow down Simpson? This guy is on an absolute heater. He's throwing three touchdowns every week. He's thrown for at least 200 and 200, we'll say 200. He's throwing at least 200 yards a game, which is pretty good. I mean, he's on a heater, and the Tennessee defense has to slow him down right now, and Aguilar has to keep pace.
That's what I think this game is going to turn into. Is it's going to be whatever the over under is. It's probably somewhere in the 40s. And take the over because I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I don't think Tennessee's defense is very good, um, but I do think that their offense can score in bunches, and this is going to really turn into a track meet. I think.
Well, I will say, people are agreeing with you on that because the line on this game right now is currently 58.5. So,
58. That's so many friggin' points.
yeah,
58 and a half.
yeah,
That is okay. So yeah, uh, probably still take the over because this is going to be like a 40-40 game.
yeah.
But jeez, that is so many points.
This is likely going to be one of those games that you see on a TikTok in a couple years that is like, you guys remember this game where it's just so much
Mm,
offense going on.
I just don't see a world in which it's not. Tennessee can really score the ball, and Bama can really do the same. I think it'll start out a lot like the UGA Tennessee game did, where we're just back and forth, back and forth. We'll just see if Tennessee can survive and maybe get a crucial stop when they need it.
Yeah, it's a big game with implications. Those are pretty much the big three matchups this week. You got Florida at Mississippi State. Florida's favored by 8.5 there. You got Texas at Kentucky. Kentucky or Texas favored by 12.5. And then A&M favored by 7.5 versus Arkansas. Those are kind of okay matchups. Upset alert perhaps in that Florida game. And maybe in the A&M game, if Arkansas can get their stuff together, I expect Texas to handle business versus Kentucky. But, you know,
Yeah, I would agree. This is a good week to focus on a few games and, uh it's a couple more measuring stick games, I think.
for sure. But that's what we got for college football for this week. We can now get into, the pros. We're filming on Tuesday this week, so we can talk about the Monday games, which, I liked them.
Did you now? Can you tell me about it?
Sure. Well, I always I've always kind of liked when the Bears pull out a win when they shouldn't. The Bears get a big one against Washington. No, but that game actually was pretty good, and I can't believe that the Bears ended up winning that one with a backup kicker. But in my opinion, the really big game for me last night was the Bills losing their second straight to my hometown boys. The Dirty Birds get their win there. Was I scared? Yeah, I was. We're up 14 at half, and that felt like 3 points. Like it felt like we were barely up on these guys. And this game
Should
is
have been up
full.
21.
Should have been up 21. Drake London
At the
barely out of
very least,
bounds.
17.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna take off like that, now I'm not giving Drake London
You
any
gotta
hate.
know.
I
You
love
gotta
Drake
know.
London, but if you're gonna take off, you gotta have sideline awareness and you gotta get that ball in. You are so much taller and bigger than that defensive back. If you can't hit the pylon and you're worried about the sideline, just truck him. You weigh 40
Run
more
him the
pounds than
fuck
he
over.
weighs. But they hold on. Falcons only score 3 points in the second half, but the defense holds Josh Allen. Two interceptions. That's big stuff. And a big game for the Falcons. This is the same team that lost 30-0 to the Panthers 3 weeks ago. So I don't really know what I'm looking at, but beating the Bills felt good. And I've had a very good day because of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we like the NFL. This is why we watch because things like this happen where you lose 30-0 to the Panthers and then you go beat probably one of the three or four best teams in the league. Um and it's it's a good day to be a Atlanta Falcons fan for sure.
There's not many of them, and today is one of them. One thing that did kind
Got
of
to
frustrate
capitalize.
me, yeah, you have to. One thing that did kind of frustrate me was the Bills were three in the power rankings before this game. They were 10 after the loss. The Falcons were 20 and are now 18. I'm like, really? Like, really, guys? Like, what could we have done? Like, what did
They
you
still
want us
think
to
you're
do?
that bad.
They still think we suck. And I get it. We did lose 30-0 to the Panthers. Honestly, I kind of like that they're keeping us low because we got up to like 12 and that's when we got spanked by the Panthers. So like let's just maybe keep us low for now and just let us think that we're not good still.
A little low profile. I like it.
Yeah, under the radar. But that's a big one there last night. Um the Buccaneers win another one score game against the San Francisco 49ers, who the Falcons will go into next week. Baker Mayfield continues to look like, I mean, with the game that Josh Allen had, does this put Baker into the head runner for the MVP of the National Football League?
I mean, at first I thought there's no way that this Bucks team is gonna win enough to really make Baker's case for this. But they just really don't show any sign of slowing down. Um, and they keep winning these close games. Baker keeps balling his ass off, and you know, I think Baker's making a really, really good case for himself as the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he for sure is. He had another great game here in the Buccaneers versus the 49ers. And now I know I said one score game. I know it wasn't exactly a one score game, but this game was pretty much a one score game. The Buccaneers getting a score there really late that essentially solidified the game. But Baker Mayfield goes, 17 for 23, 256 pass yards, two touchdowns, no interceptions. he's just so careful and precise with his throws. And that's what's really impressed me about him. 17 for 23 is like you are hitting everything. And when you are throwing it, it's just hitting the window perfectly. And injuries have riddled this Buccaneers team, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter for Baker Mayfield. Now, you did lose Egbuka late in that game with a hamstring injury. How will this affect Baker's play?
I really don't think it matters. I think the way he's been playing, Emeka Ibuka is very good. Um, but I think we are forgetting he is still a rookie. Um, and I think Baker is making him look very, very good. I think that's also a large part of it. So slot another guy in there. I think, I think the Bucks are going to be all right.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's not that Egbuka is making Baker better. I think it's Baker is hoisting up Egbuka, and I think that is a big testament to Baker Mayfield there. Thursday night we had my other than the Falcons, this was my favorite game of the week. The Eagles fall to the Giants. Unbelievable. In the same night that the Philadelphia Phillies were eliminated from playoff baseball. Just hilarious stuff there. Just hilarious stuff.
I mean, we love to see it when Philly's not very good. Um, and things go wrong for Philly. Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo. Cam Scattaboo with an absolute monster game. I know that because I have him in fantasy. 31 points in fantasy. But 98 yards, three touchdowns. Just an absolute dog. Jackson Dart with one rushing, one passing. Um, the Giants may not necessarily. I'm not ready to say that they're like a really good team, and but I am ready to say that they are going to be very fun. If these two young spark plugs can stay healthy, I think that this could be not necessarily the most successful year for the Giants, but it will be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is fun to watch, and I am just praying that Cam Scattaboo stays healthy. I mean, I love the way this guy plays football. It's aggressive, it's harsh, it's just I'm just gonna run right at you, and if you want to stand there, I'm gonna try to go right through you. I like the way that I mean it's old school running back type stuff. Now, one thing I did want to bring up about this game that the Eagles did a tush push 4 plays in a row and ended up scoring a touchdown. This is so boring to me. And they false started on one of the plays and the refs just don't seem to see it. And that's why the play can't continue to if it's going to be legal, you have to watch it diligently. And if they jump off sides, you got to call something.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's how this is going to end up getting uh banned. Um, is that the NFL is going to say that it's just too hard to officiate. It's hard to see when they go early. And you just need it probably will go away. I've had very conflicting opinions on this because one part of my brain says this is grown man football. If you want to stop it, you got to figure out how to stop it.
I
Like,
agree.
stop complaining that it shouldn't be legal and just go stop it. But the other hand is they just ran it 4 times in a row where they jumped offside, and they're getting some unintended advantages from running this play um, that make it unfair. So it's a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much in the same boat as you. Did I like watching the play? Have I ever liked the play? No, I mean, no, the play annoys me because they can run it so effectively that it just kind of annoys me that they can just do this over and over. However, I did think in my head, well, there's not really much we can do because it is legal and we just have to find a way to stop it. But then, I'm seeing them run it this many times in a row, and I'm hearing the announcers say that they're jumping off sides, and they can't see it in time, and you can't review that. If this play is going to remain legal, you have to you have to be able to review a false start. You just have to be able to review that. And I don't really want that to be a thing because I kind of like the old school method of football, but I don't know. I don't I don't really like that they can just get away with starting early because you can't see it.
See, and but that becomes a problem because then we're reviewing every single time they score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And it just makes the game so much longer because they're probably gonna be offside on half of them. And then we gotta run a whole nother play and they gotta score. And if it's first down, they're probably gonna get close enough to run another tush push and do the whole thing all over again. And it really just makes the whole thing not very fun to watch, in my opinion.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. We'll see where that goes. I do expect there to be a big talk about this in the offseason as there was last year. I expect this to be brought up again. Um the Panthers win their second straight against the Cowboys. Now, are the Cowboys very good? We talked about this last week. They are not very good. However, Rico Dowdle had his second game in a row with over 150 rush yards, which is just absurd stuff. Over 200 last week, 183 this week. I have Chuba on my fantasy team. I'm starting to get nervous that they're not going to bring this guy back because, I mean, Rico Dowdle is just running all over these guys.
Yeah, I mean, to go along with the 183 rush yards, he also had 56 pass yards, or receiving yards, I should say. Um, but I think the bigger story is that this Cowboys defense is absolutely atrocious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
M- Maybe they need, an all-star lineman that might be able to help them out.
Yeah. And maybe if you have
Be
one,
real fun if they had that.
maybe if you did have one, you like just paid him what he wanted because he deserves it, you know?
It's real unfortunate the Cowboys were never in this situation.
Yeah, it's a real big hypothetical. You wish that they had had a situation like this. But a funny week for the NFC East there. The Giants get the win against the Eagles. The Commanders blow it on Monday night. And then finally, the Cowboys lose. A full win for the Giants, up one game on every team. Good for them. Good for the G men. But that's all
George
I got.
Pickens, I want to say
Yeah.
before we move on, George
Yep.
Pickens, 168 yards, a touchdown. I think he might have found maybe a good home in Dallas. I think the Steelers probably made a mistake getting rid of him. Um, but you know, I like Pickens in Dallas.
Yeah, he fits in there. He did fit in Pittsburgh too, I will say. He kind of picked a couple of teams that he kind of fits. If you had like George Pickens on like the Chargers, I'd be like, that's a weird thing. I feel like these two teams that are like really big name teams and like he can really show his prowess because he's like he just walks with this like, he knows how good he is. He knows he can make that play. And yeah, he saw it against against the Panthers. Now, is the Panthers defense very good? No, but no matter who you're playing in the NFL, when you get over 150 receiving yards, it's a good week because I mean these are professional players.
You get paid to play football too, man. So yeah, George Pickens, I think he needs to be somewhere where he's going to be um, highlight of the team, where he's going to be the main wide receiver, and he probably wasn't going to get that with DK in Pittsburgh. He was probably going to be their second option there. So I think it's a good move for him to leave. But he is the epitome of that diva wide receiver that's probably going to cost you 15 yards every few games, but then we'll also have 168 yards and a touchdown. So, you know, you take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, you got to. You got to give to take. But are we ready to hop into the AE poll this week?
AE poll. I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Been looking forward to it with this week. We've got chaos at the top. Obviously, as we've said, Ohio State remains. It's almost like we should just stop even saying number one. You know who it is.
Yep.
Um, does Indiana get up into two here, or does Miami retain that?
Ah,
Or do you want A&M?
No. Miami stays at 2. I don't think Indiana even comes at 3.
Okay.
I think A&M is better than they are.
Okay. I mean, we've seen more out of A&M. They're more proven, did their job. We didn't talk about that. They did do their job against Florida this week, so good win for them. Um, something Texas couldn't do. So, I'm okay to slip A&M up into three.
I just don't think that like Indiana deserves to jump all of those teams. I'll give them 4 because they just beat the number 2 team, or were they number 3?
I actually think they were two, and I think Miami was three. No, 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 no.
No,
Miami,
Miami
no,
didn't go up.
Miami was two. Yeah,
So
I can.
so they just took over 3. I don't really think that that's right. I'm gonna go with Texas A&M and then
Sure.
Indiana.
All right. I like that. A&M at three. Indiana at four. Now, Ole Miss is undefeated, but you almost lost at home against Washington State. You go Bama at five?
Um, I'm thinking about it. Um, so let's play this game. If Alabama and Ole Miss are playing this weekend, what's the spread?
I mean, I would assume if Georgia's 7.5 and Georgia lost to Bama, gotta think that's Bama 8.5, Bama 9.5.
So why should they be ranked below Ole Miss?
Right. That's the question. That's the only thing right now that Ole Miss has that Bama doesn't is a zero in that second column. I like Bama at five.
I like Bama at 5 as well. And I like to throw a shot at Lane Kiffin. So,
Yeah.
Lane, if you're listening,
And I'm sure he is. I like when we call out the head
100%.
coaches because I know these guys are watching.
They're watching
Um,
everything.
I
They
know
got
they
guys
are
on this.
for sure. They got scouting reports. Um, then we probably then you throw Ole Miss at six. There's no way we can put Texas Tech at six. So
No.
in fact, now we
Yeah, we're not even gonna put them at 7.
now we're obviously homers here, but with the way Oregon looked last week, and with Georgia getting it done in Auburn, I think you go Georgia here.
I would agree.
Meaning that according to the AE poll, this matchup is not 9 versus 5 this week. It's actually six
6
versus
versus
seven.
7. 6, 7.
Right.
I hate
um, I mean, then maybe I go Texas Tech there at 8. That would be my vote there.
Oregon, I think.
Oregon. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to disrespect the Big 12.
Okay. I mean, I here's the thing. I would fight for Texas Tech, but why? Like it's the only reason I'm putting Texas Tech there is because they're undefeated.
Correct. And that's why they deserve to be in the top 10 at 9.
Sure. I like 9. Um Now here's where I get dicey a little bit here.
I was also gonna have an objection here.
Because LSU is not 10. All right, guys? LSU isn't 10. I mean, of these teams I'm looking at here, Oklahoma dropping 8 is rough. They did have a bad game, but I do think that they deserve to be out of the top 10 right now. If they get a bounce back
Hmm.
game, we'll come back to that next week.
Okay,
Um
good. We were gonna argue about that if you said Oklahoma.
no. Notre Dame, still a two-loss team, still doesn't deserve to be top 10.
Nope.
Georgia Tech, undefeated, maybe deserves to be there, but the only team that rivals them is Tennessee. That's the battle for 10 right now.
And if we play the same game that we just played earlier, I think the spread is Tennessee by nine
Dude,
and a
I'm not
half.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Tennessee Tech spread might be like 12.5. Like I think Tennessee is
Yeah,
a
it's
much better
it's
team.
I would agree. So I was also gonna petition to put Tennessee at 10.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. I actually do think that Georgia Tech versus LSU would be a pretty good game. We won't get that game, but I actually do think that would be a pretty good game because I
I
think
would
those are
agree.
two. I think those are two pretty good teams. I don't think either of them are really good, and I do think Tennessee is really good.
I do as well.
So yeah, that's the AE poll of the week. Not a lot of disagreements there. Maybe I mean, we talk about Texas Tech every week. This team continues to climb, and they will. Texas Tech will climb for likely the remainder of this season, and they will be ranked extremely high as the playoff comes, and they probably will get absolutely spanked. They're going to play Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Then they finally get their first ranked game against BYU, then UCF, West Virginia. I could see this team being undefeated. And then, despite being undefeated heading into the college football playoff, they will play, anyone from the Big Ten or SEC. And the spread, despite them being undefeated, will be in favor of the team they're playing.
Yeah, I think you sniped it there.
And that's how things are going to go for Texas Tech for the remainder of the year. You can quote me on that. And finally, our favorite game. I've actually received a couple of people who have talked to me about it, and Shid Mid Legit is it's a favorite amongst the crowd. So
I
I'm
think it's a
glad
winner.
it's it's a fun game. It's a fun name. It's all around fun. I just get to come up with three teams, and Austin has to tell me if they're Shid Mid or Legit. So I'm gonna try not to use any of the teams I have used before. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the New York Giants, right? We're gonna do the Oregon Ducks, and we're gonna do the Oklahoma Sooners.
Ooh, you're putting me in a tough spot to be mean to the New York Giants. Um, because out of those three teams, I would say that the New York Giants are probably shid.
Well, look,
Um,
guys, I did want him to be throwing the New York Giants in the mid spot, but in order for him to have done that, I would have had to throw out like a BYU or like a Nebraska. And I don't want to give the Giants the mid. I want them to earn it a little bit. So, maybe that comes
and
later in
I
the
don't think
season.
that they do. I think Oklahoma is still probably at least mid. And Oregon, I think is definitely still legit. They lost to what I think is a good Indiana team. Um, and as much as I don't like it, I do think the Big Ten, up top at least, is very good.
Yeah, I would agree there. That would be my rankings as well. Oregon at See, that's actually like kind of tough because I almost do want to put Oklahoma as the legit and Oregon as the mid. It's close, but I would still say that Oregon is the legit. And the Giants, unfortunately, will have to remain in the shid category this week. We hope in the future we can get them into the mid category.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't want to do that to you.
It's okay. He's probably happy enough with beating the Eagles. Plus, like I said, every other NFC East team lost. So Giants fans are on high right now, probably burning down New York as we speak. But that's all we got for you this week, folks. Austin, you got anything else you want to say?
No, hockey's back. Uh, Come on, you Spurs, and have a good week.
Yeah, let's have a good week, guys. So thanks for watching.